of decorum and modified it a little bit by saying, no, family is who you choose. Don't necessarily have to be blood related. Um,
Hmm.
and by that, I say this: they chose to bring in that young man, and they allowed him
Okay.
to become part of their family. And he was like a brother to James, where he helped him defend his wife and his children.
Hmm.
But the very people that he broke bread with less than a handful of hours ago, they were out there ready to rip his jugular out. In
Hmm.
fact, you had the young man who was dressed in the mask, the young Republican, who literally tried to like give him a send off and rationalize why he was killing him. There's no
Yeah.
rationalization behind invading someone's home just so that you can bust a cap in somebody else that you didn't even know, that didn't even
Yeah.
wrong you. I just found that perplexing for some odd reason. I don't know. Maybe it's because I have morals.
I mean, it's the movie. It's like this is the Purge world, man. In the Purge world, this is what you get. But I mean, like, that's interesting. Like the idea of like what like how people kind of like the Dante becoming the defender of the family. Like he definitely does. He absolutely does do that. And I read enough to know that that particular character I think goes on into
Yeah, he's in. Yeah,
some
he's
of
in
the
a
other
couple
movies as
others.
well.
Mhm.
So I
And
guess I guess the crowd, the audience liked him. By the way, this joint was made for $3 million and made 89 mil. Like this is a pop. This was a cash cow, man.
well,
People
so
people
most.
wanted to see this.
Well, what does that tell you though? It speaks volumes. One, people like violence and gore.
Yep.
Two,
Yep.
something that's very simplistic can strike an accord with individuals where they're like, hmm. It was like that with the Blair Witch. It was like that with
Blair
uh
Witch Project was kind of interesting. I actually like that though.
what's Cloverfield. It was like that with John Wick.
Hmm.
These
Yeah.
are movies on a smaller scale, and they make a lot of money. They double and
Yeah.
triple. Rocky was like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
here you
That was
have,
a classic.
yeah, you have basically this story is telling like, hey, what happens when you give people full reign to do whatever their heart's desires. But the ironic thing for me is you didn't see anybody talking about like, hey, I'm gonna go steal John's car and I'm gonna keep it.
Yo, and we're gonna get to that because I know that's in the questions. All right,
Yeah.
so you mentioned like how much people like this film and that evidenced by how much money it made. So let's talk about what we liked about it. So this
Yeah.
is like all right, when we talk about the cake is what we like. We had a couple things. I know you had a couple. I had a couple.
Yeah.
What were some of your slices of cake for this?
Yeah, man, I'm rocking definitely with the cast. I like Lena Headley, especially since 300 going back in my head
That's
as
right. Yeah, she wasn't
um
three. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um
Yep.
and she's also in for those that like Game of Thrones or whatever have you, she's in the latest joint. I just say like I think she's a very talented actress. I definitely rock with Ethan Hawke, even though in real life he's very eccentric. But Training Day did it for me.
Yeah.
He's ill in that. Um, and I think that he is very much an actor's actor, um,
Hmm.
and he's able to convey a lot with his face and just certain gestures and the tone and pitch and even the cadence in which he says his lines.
Yeah.
So I definitely rock with the casting of those two. I think they had a great uh, camaraderie, rapport, relationship. They were able to play off of each other, and I bought that they were a real life husband and wife. And then
I also, if I could just say this real quick
yeah, yeah.
about Ethan Hawke too. You mentioned the Training Day part. There's a point in this movie where Ethan Hawke kind of goes from being scared dad to like master assassin and killer.
Oh yeah.
I buy it for him because I saw him in Training Day.
Well,
So
it's,
like he seems like a person who could do physically what he's doing in this movie when he gets into that defend his family mode. So I thought once again it was a good casting pick for him, and I think he does a good job of balancing those things out.
piggybacking off of that point, though, I think any man who's worth his salt, push come to shove, and there's a home invasion, you do start. You're on home territory, so the terrain. You start to say like, all right, I may not be imposing physically, but mentally I have to be more strategic. So I'm going to use the shadows. I'm going to be in a narrow corridor where it's one way in, one way out, and I'm the one who's in with my back to the wall. They're going to have to come to me. I'm going to, I'm going to use the firepower that I have at my advantage versus theirs.
Yeah.
Um, with that even said, though, like we touched upon earlier, I like the concept of the
Yeah.
purge. I like
It's a
the
really interesting concept. It
yeah,
is.
I liked uh, similar to what was the movie that we did earlier with Kirsten Dunst,
Civil War.
Civil War. The
Yeah.
premise is what happens when society itself deteriorates?
Understand.
What happens when people lose their moral compass? What happens when the things that we take for granted in society, such as democracy itself? And I think we've seen that this past decade in politics here in the United States, even across the
Mhm.
globe, for that matter, where you'll see individuals' human rights. Forget, whatever type of government you have in your country. Just outright innate human rights, the right to breathing, eating, sleeping. Very simplistic. What happens when those are not only infringed, but just done away with outright to appease people's base level? Um, it was a very intriguing concept. What you got?
Yeah, it is, yeah, and I would say, yeah, I agree with both of those points. I liked a couple things they did in the movie. One of the things was the idea, like the Purge video feed in the
Mm,
beginning, because like it immediately just brought me like into it. Because I remember when this came out, I wasn't really interested in seeing it, and I kind of was like, all right, let me tell we're gonna do it on the show for the show. But the first 5 minutes got me into it. So I thought it was good how they did that part. And then you touched on it a little bit earlier. Yeah, I love the crazy Wall Street villain, dude. I love that dude. I don't, I hate that I can't remember his name. I'm drawing a blank on it right now. But man, he was so funny to me, man. His whole like extremely proper English Wall Street look,
he's listed
business
as
suit,
polite leader, if you will, in the
polite leader, right? Exactly. I mean, like he's such a malevolent force of destruction
Rice
in
Wayfield.
the movie, right? I mean, like he was giving me like Joker vibes, like
Mm,
somebody that's like seemingly okay. Like, look, obviously Joker's got the paint on his face and everything, but he looks like he's okay, but he's actually a maniac. And I thought he was like the perfect kind of lunatic in this joint. His dash cam, the like the little, I guess the doorbell, the ring cam thing.
yeah.
When he takes his mask off, like I don't even care if you see my face, because that's how crazy I am. And then when he killed his friend for like being too aggressive and told James, like, I killed him and he was my friend. So imagine what
What
I'm
I'm going
gonna
to
do
do
to
to you?
you if you don't send Dante out here. He was great. He was great. And then like just like you said, the scene where he killed James, unfortunately, and then he like was trying to talk to him like, you've made this great sacrifice. I'm sorry to kill you in your house, but hey, man, I tried to warn you. Yeah, he's great. He's a good villain, man. He does I would have watched another 15, 20 minutes with
I don't. I don't even know what to say to that.
him.
I would. I don't even know what this. I would have watched it for another 15, 20.
I would have watched another 15 minutes of him. He was compelling, man. He was a compelling character on the screen. That's what I'm saying.
Uh,
Not a role model, not a role model,
no, definitely. No, I'm not
but a
misconstrued.
compelling character on the screen.
I yeah, I don't know what to say to that.
All right, fair. Fair. All right, so look, so that's the stuff that we did like. What about the stuff that we didn't like too much, man? The hates. I know we got a couple things on this too.
And shout out to Edwin Hodge, yo.
That's his name, Edward Hot. Yes, shout out to him, man.
Uh,
Polite leader.
no, 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 no. He's not the polite leader. He's the one who's Dante. He's the one who's stranger.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the
yeah,
the
yeah,
polite leader is actually Rice Wakefield.
yeah. Right, yo, shout out to him, man. He did his thing in this
Yeah,
movie.
he even looks crazy.
He
Like
does.
like
He
no,
does. Yeah, in his eyes.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
that's what it is.
like
Crazy in
something's
his
not
eyes.
right
Yeah,
with the boy, yo.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
like,
Crazy in his eyes. Yeah.
yeah, yo.
Yeah,
Um,
I bet a lot of people that work with him was like, "Yo, stay away from him on the
yeah,
purge,
yeah,
man. He's
like
crazy."
yeah, like he might eat bats live. You
You
know
know?
what I mean? Like, yeah, stay away from him, man. Um, yeah, but transitioning to what I've disliked about this movie. I think that there is an outlandish and absurdly amount of violence in this movie.
Yeah,
And I understand that it's not violence for the sake of being violence, but
mhm.
it tiptoes that line of like, wow, okay, that
That's a lot.
was pretty dark. All right. Like, wow, okay. Especially when the neighbors come in and they start dragging away James's body.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that was
the
crazy.
body ain't even. Excuse me, the body's not even cold yet,
Yeah,
and you're
they just want out the way so they
yeah,
can
like
finish moving
I was
forward.
like, wow, in front of the kids, you're gonna do this like now?
Yeah,
Like, wow, you
yeah,
guys, whew. Um, yeah, that was something else. And the thing that like that's a component of that is what if they could have called the ambulance to save James? Well, that's not even an option. So here
yeah.
it is, this 12 hours. So you mean to tell me that there's no hospitals open, there's no emergency room? So what you telling me? Like you got to have your own blood bank in your basement? You got to have like,
Yes. Yeah, yeah. What
wow.
about the cleanup crew? Like, imagine all the dead bodies
Yeah,
across America, like that. Like all the work the morgue gets the next day after the purge.
and not to sound morbid, but the neighbors could have went into that. They could have created a mortuary, a crematory. They could have, they could have
Yeah.
created a funeral home. Like, yo,
You
the
keep,
same
you
way
keep
that
trying to give the neighbors jobs.
all I'm
You
saying
keep
is
trying to
like
give them businesses so they don't want to kill the sand.